Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and giving you game 2 in this series between OldSchool and IMMvp. OldSchool this time spawning as the red Terran player. Meanwhile, IMMvp spawning as the blue Terran player. And game 1 was a very clean, very prestigious, clean play from IMMvp. Was able to handle OldSchool very well, able to push back what would have been, what essentially should have been a one-base semi all-in OldSchool, and never really recovering from that initial push as MVP was able to macro up a much larger army afterwards. Anyways, let's talk about game 2. MVP spawning as the blue Terran player here on the bottom left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, IMMvp as a blue player on the bottom left-hand side, OldSchool on the top right-hand side. Still patch 136, so the names over here left and right don't correspond to the map. So ever confusing as IMMvp now building up a supply depot here on the front door. Now, I am curious to see if OldSchool will go for that same strategy. The reason why I wonder this is on Xel'Naga Caverns, the map is much smaller. The walking distance much closer between these bases. And this is a map where that one base all in, because of the relatively close spawning locations, may work out a little bit better. OldSchool is opening up with gas, but then again, so is IMMvp, as IMMvp very much aware that this is more of a 1-1-1 build map because of the relatively close spawning locations. But SCVs still being trained. Refinery now about to be completed. We should see 2 SCVs being transferred into here, as it's really going to come down to execution. I know I've said this in the past, but mirror matches, one of the reasons why I like mirror matches and I don't like mirror matches is, one, playing them, it always seems very difficult for me. As in a Terran versus Terran, or watching Zerg versus Zerg, or Protoss versus Protoss, it's always very difficult to analyze and study a mirror match. Or playing a mirror match, because any trick that you have, your opponent also has. But one of the benefits of a mirror match is, if you do lose the game, well, you pretty much know that you can watch that replay and figure out what you need to do in the long run. Oh, an SCV now going to scoot off over here and build a factory over here on the north side. IMMvp will be going for a factory. Meanwhile, back over here, OldSchool getting his factory just a little bit later, and we'll see what is going to go down. And Marine was able to get that final shot onto that scouting SCV, and now MVP is going to have a little bit of an issue, as he's not going to be able to make it up that ramp at all. 3 Marines will be more than enough to bar him from getting up that ramp, as 3 Marines dealing 18 damage per attack, 3 rounds of attack, more than enough to really deny sight. Now, the problem is going to be whether or not the SCV is going to come up there in time, and it looks like it's going to come up there, and it's going to not turn around at all. And let's see how much information he was able to gather. Absolutely none. Doesn't see the factory, doesn't see the barracks, and we can also see that OldSchool is running, just starting, or just finished that second refinery there, so he may be going into a starport. He is adding a tech lab, and we'll see how far or how well this works. You can see also that IMMvp doing the same strategy, and he's also slightly ahead. His starport is slightly ahead. He is not. The tech lab, I believe, is slightly ahead as well. Yes, as MVP is going to be able to swap the factory and the starport very easily. And both players looks like they will be going for Banshees. A siege tank already being added. So 1 siege tank going to be added to this group here, and we'll see what OldSchool is going to be able to do against the numbers. He does have a little bit more food at this time, as now he may decide to train up a Viking. A Viking would be a very smart choice in order to counter the Banshee, and I like this play by OldSchool. Going for a siege tank Viking against an opponent's 1-1-1 is a very nice build, knowing that that Banshee is not going to finish cloaking for quite a while. MVP now looking to get another tech lab. His siege tanks will be delayed, though, because of the extra cost in cloaking and in Banshees. One siege tank on the move. However, siege tech not yet started here, and this may be another mistake. And once more, we'll see whether or not it's going to come down. He did start it as soon as he had enough gas, and perhaps he is now pushing out when he has only one siege tank, and the second siege tank is on the way. This front door is going to be very, very vulnerable to attack here. The siege tanks and the Marines are going to be trying to fight up this hill. There is going to be a Banshee already on the move, so that Banshee is already on the move there. A second siege tank on the move, as this Viking is going to be very, very critical. Old School does not have an engineering bay, though, so he may not be able to do all the proper scouting. Siege tank now on the low ground, blasting away here. There are some Marines down over here, as well as now the siege tanks are backing off. This one Banshee over here looking for its prime target. SCV is being brought over as well. Will it be enough? There's this Viking. This Viking does know to stay home. So Old School should be able to destroy this one Banshee. The Banshee does have cloak, though, so Old School may be able to get off one or perhaps no shots at all, as now the cloaking research or orbital command does have enough energy, but will he be able to do a scanner sweep in time? Yes, there's the scanner sweep. That one Banshee being forced to run all the way home already, and able to barely escape that now, but the Banshee is starting to run low on energy. This is going to be very, very bad news. The Viking just now trying to stay as close as possible, as the front door over here now being knocked on loudly by Old School. Old School now punishing this, as a second Banshee now comes in as well. You can see that the starport, for some reason, doing a bit of a swap. Perhaps a Raven will be trained, but will it be trained in time is the key question. There is enough to train a Raven. He definitely needs that Raven, and in a hurry. Back over here, this front door is still dealing a lot of damage, as a fresh Banshee now coming in, and this may be a problem, as a cloaked Banshee, the absolute nightmare. SCVs need to repair this siege tank, as they are now pushing in as well. Siege tanks are pushing in, Marines are pushing in, and Old School says GG. So Old School losing to Banshees here in the Zelnaga Caverns. Really well played by IMMvp, getting 3 Banshees, also knowing to split apart his Banshees early on enough in order to make sure that they did not get destroyed by scanner sweep. IMMvp able to pull away that Banshee. A lot of worker kills, and MVP taking the victory there, as MVP got one Banshee in time at his front door in order to fend off this attack here, knowing that there's no way that the Marines would be able to shoot it down, and that's all she wrote. So yes, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for Game 3 in this series between Old School and IMMvp.